Minneapolis, St. Paul, The Fan.
Football Feast.
Shall we begin?
Oh, well.
I gotta turn this down, Bob.
Holy Toledo! Let's go. Let's go, everybody. Let's go. Good morning.
So that would be an L for today.
Play around with a bad football team, bad things happen.
The season can't end like that!
PA and Charch.
You're listening to 9 to Noon.
Hashtag Faith Radio.
The Vikings begin 1st and 10 from their own 25-yard line. Offset eye left behind Kirk Cousins. Alexander Madison, the single set. Jefferson wide left. Cousins straight drop. Passing first play. Throws right flat. It's caught. Josh Oliver turns it up inside 30. To the 35. Ball came out. And we've lost our 8th fumble this year. Pacheco to the left of Mahomes, who works out of the shotgun. Creed Humphrey, one of the best centers in the league, snaps it to him. Hand off Pacheco. Flag on the play. Isaiah goes to grinding at the goal strike. And touchdown, Kansas City Chiefs. For Isaiah Pacheco, that would be his 3rd rushing touchdown this season. 11th play of a 50-yard possession, trailing by 7 in the first quarter. It's first down for the Vikings. Cousins from under center. He's sacked immediately. It's Leo Chenal. Second year from Wisconsin. Third down, C.J. Ham to the right of Kirk Cousins. Here comes a blitz up the middle. Cousins fires left. Incomplete off the hands of T.J. Hawkinson. Mahomes under center. The center is Creed Humphrey. Offset eye right. He fakes a handoff to tight end Blake Bell. He's hit as he throws to the right side and incomplete. They're going to get Harrison Smith for pass interference on Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Second and goal from the 4. Chiefs lead by 7 deep in the third quarter. Mahomes, Pacheco by his side. He takes the Humphrey snap. Passes quickly to the right. Caught Travis Kelce. Touchdown, Kansas City Chiefs. For Travis Kelce, his 3rd touchdown this season. It's a 4-yard production. And Kansas City has taken a 26-13 lead. Here it is. Cousins, deep drop. Floats out to the left. Now he's sacked, and the game is over. The Kansas City Chiefs improve to 4-1. The Minnesota Vikings drop to 1-4. Hey, what's going on, Buffalo Wild Wings Champlin? It is so nice to see you, even though rainy days and Fridays may get some Minnesota Vikings fans down. This is a turn the frown upside down Friday for your Minnesota Vikings. They head to Chicago to take on the Chicago Bears. And we are here to discuss that and much more. My name is Paul Allen. The co-host is Paul Charch. And this is Chad Greenway. And Jeffrey Manis guides the great ship Love Covenant from Buffalo Wild Wings Champlin, just up 169 way. Nordo, mad producer, is the producer at KFAN and the 651 Carpets Plus Studios. Before we chat about football feast-esque topics, Minnesota Wild. Hey!
All right.
Hey!
1-0.
Winnersville.
Yeah.
Let's go.
End the season now.
Some Faber out of the gate. Brock Faber, he's one of you. You got to love that, right? I love that a little bit. So they start 1-0. And the Minnesota Vikings start division play, and with division play this weekend, taking on the Chicago Bears. We're going to also start a handful of games without Justin Jefferson. Chad Greenway's appearance is courtesy of Grey Duck Vodka and Grey Duck Spirits, and we start there. No JJ. What do you think about that? And good morning.
And good morning. Yeah, well, I don't love it. I don't think anybody loves it as a Vikings fan. I mean, at the end of the day, when you're sitting here with the record we have after that complete L by the refs last weekend, let's just talk about that and get that out of the way. I'm so upset by that play. So mad about that play.
I don't understand how that works on any level.
I'm just gonna rip that scab open right away and how mad I was about that.
Did you ever see that with the referee who came in and basically said, you should really put your helmet back on or whatever and not give you the penalty.
Excuse me, sir. Do you
see
mind
that?
putting your helmet back on before I throw this flag on you?
Right. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Never seen it before. Never in that moment. Never at that time when he's literally arguing a call and the helmet's off. I actually go before that. I don't even care about the pass interference because I think Addison has to do a better job of selling that. If he tries to go in and get it, just like the Chiefs guy did against Harry early in the game,
right?
He sold it.
He did.
Addison sells it. You got to learn that, young man.
You want to get a little flop in there?
But can we talk about the hit on the quarterback?
Oh, yeah.
The hit on the quarterback was the most egregious miss. This thing is called all the time on something that is a ridiculous low hit or somebody gets pushing the quarterback, they call it, and drives are extended.
Yeah.
If Mahomes gets hit like that, it is called 1,000 times in a row by every referee crew. And that's just blatantly missed.
No
not even
kidding.
talked about in that play.
Yeah.
Other than the social media warriors who brought up that play specifically and how this whole thing is scripted, the Chiefs have to win. Now I didn't believe that before because I played in the NFL for 11 years, but now I believe it.
Yeah, it feels like there's a little something to that. Chiefs got some calls last night as well that seemed.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, the Chiefs fans that I talked to about this
Taylor
went, whoa. Chiefs had 100 more penalty yards than the Vikings did in the game. So, how do you figure that?
That's because you're a bad football team. You also should have been flagged on that play. I don't care if you had 1,000,000 penalty yards.
Yeah.
That play was a penalty.
It was
3 different ways, and they pick it up and walk away. And it drove me crazy.
It was a game changer.
Because guess what? It changed the outcome.
It did.
It prevents you from moving.
Yes.
It did.
Yeah.
The game would have ended somehow differently. We're at least going to get a field goal there. Something's going to happen. It's going to be four.
Well, they'd have gone for the touchdown, then made the 2-point conversion. Vikings win.
Away we go. Win for 2 even.
There we go. Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, we can complain about that all day, but it just is what it is.
Chad, what happened to the 24-hour rule with you? I mean,
no, I don't play anymore, sir.
No, but I mean, damn, that's a lot of dwelling off the Kansas City Chiefs game because then we can go to a Caleb Evans not catching a pass and Josh Palmer scores on it, and so on.
Wasn't it Cam Bynum? Are you thinking of the Bynum?
Oh no! No. If we're going to dwell, let's dwell on the Chargers game. And then,
there's all sorts of dwelling.
Let's dwell on the Buccaneers game.
But listen, I want to blame somebody else right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we talk about somebody else that's suspending the refs?
Of course.
And you can't have an opening play fumble, and you can't. All the things we can control, you have to do better.
Yeah.
And that's the most frustrating part about this team for me is it's the exact flip of last year.
Right.
Every one-score game now to this point, we've lost, and it's been completely frustrating, and it's the way we've lost it because it's things that we can control, other than maybe that call at the end of the game, and that's something that every week you go into, you talk about those things.
But even in winning all of the one-score games last year, the 11-0 record obviously spoke for itself. We were not securing 8 fumbles lost by other teams. So, when you've lost 8 fumbles, man, and you're throwing 99-yard pick sixes, we didn't get any of those last year either. Oh. I understand what you're saying. Being a horse racing guy, we are losing every photo finish at the wire. So it's like down the stretch they come, and it's Charch, Chad, and Charch. Here they are, and Chad, 11 times. This year, Charch. We're losing all of those photos. But there's an opportunity to win one this weekend. Hopefully it's not a photo. We are catching Justin Fields off what Chicago media members are saying are the best consecutive games he's played in his career.
For sure.
We also are catching the Chicago Bears, who have had significant injuries in their secondary, and 2 of the better players most likely are going to come back in corner Jalen Johnson and safety Eddie Jackson. So division play commences this weekend. We still got 2 with Chicago, 2 with Green Bay, 2 with Detroit nearing the end. And obviously this one is, if making the playoffs for the Minnesota Vikings matters to you, well, this one right here seems to be everything because the 49ers are looming on Monday Night Football, and who wants to deal with Christian McCaffrey in a primetime game? Holy cow. So this should be fun this weekend, noon, KFAN.
Yeah, I just hope this weather gets over there. I hope it's rainy and nasty.
Is. No, that's what they're expecting. It's basically our weather on game day.
Now, here's the part about playing the Bears that I don't like is if you remember last year's game against the Bears when Fields just ran like crazy in the second half of that football game, and his ability to hurt with his leg can impact the outcome of this game. And I'm curious to see if they'll spy like they did against Hurts. I just want to see how can we match up on the outside, play man coverage, and have an extra defender sit there and just take away those little extra plays that extend drives that he can make, and he's a big physical runner. a little Cam Newton-ish, and you got to prevent those drive extenders that he can do to make it hard on him. Make him throw from a well on third down, keep him in the pocket, make him beat you with his arm, especially if the conditions are going to be bad. At the end of the day, as you laid it out, PA, these 6 games, right, you're not out of this. You really aren't. And you have to flip this thing now.
Not out of what? Winning the division or making the playoffs?
Winning the division.
Right. That's a longer shot. I just have such a big opinion and have into the season on the Detroit Lions. I mean, they're going to start taking losses. Maybe, they just won a game without Amon-Ra St. Brown and some other guys hurt. I mean, the Detroit Lions are one of the 5 or 6 best teams in the National Football League. So that's what we're trying to run down.
And would you put the Chiefs in that same category?
Well, Chiefs are top 4. I'm not.
So my point is, sorry to cut you off. My point is that's a game we can win last weekend. We're not only in that football game, if we can control what we do better, take care of the football, don't lose a million fumbles like we're on pace for, got to be some sort of record. Like, control we're that good of a football team if we put it together. And we have to put it together. And if you don't do it now, this is going to be a long grinder, 3-13, whatever year that was we had that was absolutely brutal. And it's going to be Loserville, and the B-dubs will be closed, and it's going to be an L on Fridays. We don't want that.
You mentioned that 3-13. They're because there is no margin for error for the Minnesota Vikings winning the division. There's no margin for error. Making the postseason, okay. I mean, we can slice and dice and guess how the team's going to do in games coming up or whatever. But for you in 2007, your team started 2-5. And you won 5 consecutive. But to the no margin for error portion of the equation, in the penultimate on Sunday Night Football against Greg Williams' defense during the celebrate the memory of Sean Taylor year for what was then the Washington Redskins, it was a super tightly contested game, and they I'll never forget it, man. They put 9 and 10 around the line of scrimmage and just basically said, this guy, Tavares Jackson, if he beats us, then we lose.
Good luck.
And he didn't. And then the next week, you had to play that game at Denver with Dallas and Washington, and whomever, Brad Johnson was quarterback for one of the teams, and it didn't go the right way. So your margin for error was so slim that played into the final 2 games of the year. In 2003, you guys started 1-3, ended up winning the division. In 2010, you started 3-7, finished 6-10. In 2011, you started 1-4, lost 9 of the final 11. That was just a disaster. And 2013, you started 1-7 and finished 5-10-1. So, I mean, obviously,
it doesn't sound as good when you go through it like that.
I'm not trying to prick the balloon of your hype and right here, right now. But nevertheless, when your margin for error becomes this thin, you know it better than anybody, man. When you roll out there, you got a different kind of pressure on your heart and on your mind, and sometimes it doesn't go the right way.
Yeah, I think the best way to put this, to try to explain it to folks, is as soon as you get to 2 losses in a row early in the year, all of a sudden ownership's there on a Wednesday morning, opening of the week of practice leading up, or Monday after the game, they're sitting there at the team meeting, and they want to see the coach's approach to the meeting. They want to see the temperature in the room. They want to see the assistant coaches, the coordinators, how they're reacting to the loss. What are we going to do about it? GM is around more often. You're just seeing people because they're concerned things are tightening up, and they know their job's at stake. And it's not a fun situation, and that goes for every player in that locker room for the most part. Not every player, because there's guys under contract, there's guaranteed dollars, but there's a significant portion of players that are also under that pressure. And what it turns into is it turns into a lot of me football. It turns into a lot of me. I'm going to go out there and play for myself, and this is going to be a stat
my
game.
Future, my deal.
And the 2010-2011 thing was totally a Brett Favre 09 hangover from the Saints, and I still blame the Saints for all that from 09.
Well,
but
we're fine with that.
A little more than that. I mean, had Snapchat been invented in 2010, you might have won the Super Bowl.
Just that picture disappeared.
This is unbelievably depressing. Hold on. And the weather sucks, too. Hey! How about your goaltender, Gus Bus, last night?
Let's go.
How about that?
Wintersville.
Yes, Wintersville sounds better in FM, but y'all were saying?
All right, so it is a must-win, effectively. The Vikings are favored. In this game. Okay, so, I know our Dauber is down right now, but the Vikings have, in totality, the better team.
Hey, Charch, how do we do in Soldier Field?
Well, actually,
we haven't had that talker yet.
Well, I think we've won 3 in a row.
Let's go.
Yeah, something
This
like
Greenway retires.
Well, that's right. Once you're out of the picture, that helps. You just got to not let Justin Fields beat you with with the 2 traits that he's got that are really special. You already hit on one of them, the mobility. The second is the big arm.
Yep.
This is, where he's killing people are the deep connections to DJ Moore. And only DJ Moore, by the way.
Yeah.
So you really just have to focus on taking those 2 elements away. We saw for the running, early in the season, Luke Getsy, their offensive coordinator, refused to do any design runs for their quarterback. That was a huge mistake. The Bears got blown out. And since then, he's put that back in the playbook. And now they are giving him some more design runs. He's getting 4, 5, 6 a game. And those are big play pickups for Justin Fields. And they cripple defenses. It's so much more that you have to prepare for when you've got to have somebody whose full job. It was Ivan Pace against Jalen Hurts in week 2. It'll probably be Ivan Pace here, who's really instead of picking up a guy in coverage or checking a running back who's going out in the flats, you've got a guy who's just staring down the quarterback to make sure he doesn't beat you. That is a loss on the defense.
It's an advantage, no doubt, for the offense in that situation. It's from a game planning standpoint. You're adding layers into your defensive scheme all week long to prepare for that, and something you may not see, or you're going to see maybe a breakdown on a 3rd down situation. And also, how it impacts the coverage is now you want to roll a safety over the top to help with DJ Moore. You want to show doubles. You want to do all those things. Well, when you take a backer now out of coverage, and now you're floating him into that type of look and to try to prevent Fields from running, now how's that going to impact the rest of your coverage behind them? And obviously our one factor here is, can we slow down more, and can we slow down that connection? And the best way to do it is to get him on his back. The best way to do it is to have a front 4 that can rush alone, solo, without pressure. And I'm waiting for this defense to be the impact defense that we've wanted it to be. Turnovers, takeaways, scoring the football, things that we need to get some energy towards.
He mentions sacks, and I think I brought this up to you into the Carolina Panthers game, and Chad wasn't with us, that there now are 2 factoids that I have written on the game calling depth chart for Sunday at noon on KFAN that, quite honestly, I don't think I've ever written in my life. And into the Carolina game, it was Bryce Young threw 71 passes. His yards per attempt was 4.2.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the cutest little number I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, wow. It's not like, how many? Okay, 71 passes. Yeah, that counts. This week, okay, Justin Fields played 15 games last year. He's played 5 this year. He's been sacked 75 times through 20 games. He got sacked 55 times in 15 games last year. Are you kidding me with that?
And he was getting hammered in the pocket in those first 2 games, too, holding the ball too long, and does not have the super fast skill set to just, read plays and make a quick decision.
Yep.
He really wants to set up, scan the field, take his shots downfield, and if you can take that away from him and give him pressure, he'll run himself into sacks. He'll hold the ball too long. So you can go get him. And that's been an offensive line that's been really up and down. So, there's going to be some opportunities. And you can Justin Fields can go lose a game for his team. And we've done it. He's done it this year. Yeah. And it's a lot of it is about making him make decisions in the pocket because he's not that good at that part of his game yet.
This out of the gate is our marathon segment, courtesy of FVP Batteries. And you can learn more about said charge at FVPparts.com. You were saying?
Well, I was going to say is the design runs, it depends on the weather. If you're going to get this kind of weather that we're seeing right here in Minnesota on Friday, and it's going to turn into weather on Sunday in Illinois, is design runs are going to be something they're going to do, and they're going to do it consistently. They want to get him in the game. They want to get in the flow, and you're going to probably see it early and often. And I do think the one passing route that is easiest in a situation like bad weather is the deep ball.
It is. Run straight.
You run straight. There's no cutting. The timing's there. You can throw it up. It's a basket catch. It's not something with your hands when it's slick and the ball's going to come in faster. So those are the 2 factors. The thing he does well are the things that will be allowed to happen on Sunday. And I think you'll see more design runs, more package stuff, try to shorten the game, control the ball. And it's something we're going to have to do, and we're going to have to see a lot of run blitzes, which means there'll be a lot of man pressure on the outside. And again, can we hold up on the outside when he pulls that ball out of the running back's gut and goes deep? Can we make those plays?
Now, the running back situation is totally up in the air right now, and it could very well be. If it's going to be cold rain on a natural grass surface, there might be a lot of thought about let's just try to, power run straight. And
it's like playing in the pasture. It's like playing in the hayfield in Soldier Field.
Like have Foreman behind Matt Suey and just throw caution to the wind.
It's going to be a little bit of that. So
I can't figure out who Foreman's backup's going to be. It's not going to be Herbert. Johnson.
Johnson's trying to clear the concussion protocol, and he would have been perfect here.
And Homer has a hammy.
Yeah, and Homer's got a hammy.
Homer has a hammy.
Homer does have a hammy.
Those hammies, man.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of Donta Foreman in this game. He's not a special back, but he proved himself effective with Carolina last year. And I think he probably gets a lot of work here. Vikings run defense, by the way, we're all scarred by the Philadelphia game with DeAndre Swift just rolling our run defense.
Yeah.
Non-Swift runners are averaging 2.8 yards per carry.
Yep.
Wow.
The rest of the season, this team has been a very good run defense. And I think some of it is when you've got 8 men on the line of scrimmage for half of your plays. I mean, you are ready to make run stops right there.
Absolutely. I think the one question I had for you actually walking in here today was who offensively for us, whether it's a fantasy talker or just an impact player, is going to step up? Is that player KJ?
This game?
Yes, in this game.
Yeah.
Hawkinson, love him. Go Hawks.
Yep.
Right? He's my guy. But we got to make those impact plays. We got to make those third down catches. We got to haul those balls into extend drives. We got to see that from him more often. And again, it's going to be a bad weather game. It's going to be a tight end type game. I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Now, I'd bet Addison plays, but he's gone limited. So there is there is a little thing there. I would expect a full today, but I'm guessing. So the Addison piece is a little dicier than I thought yesterday.
It is, and it goes without saying, he's incredibly important. This is a very, very thin wide receiver group.
Is it going to be good?
Well, yeah. I mean, the hope so.
Yes. I mean, but he's important for this week for several reasons.
Yes.
But I've just been so impressed with his how he's developed as a rookie, where he's come in and they've used him. I've liked it. I think we need to see more of it, and this may be a massive opportunity for him.
Yeah. I mean, the next month. Now we find out, can Jordan Addison be effectively a number one?
Yep.
And then when Justin comes back, you've got kind of two number ones and two very different styles of receivers. And that could be, this could be an enormous learning opportunity for Addison to see if he can carry a passing offense. And he might be up to it. First round equity, based on what we've seen so far, he could be that guy. Bears secondary, Paul was 100% right. Jalen Johnson is coming back. He is a very good cornerback and their only good cornerback. He'll probably shadow Addison in this game, and that'll make for a really fascinating matchup.
Yeah, they have a rookie last name Stevenson.
Tyreek Stevenson.
Yeah, he's taking some L's right
Awful. Awful.
I mean, I watched 13 plays. I swear 11 went his way, and I swear 11 were completed.
Yes.
I mean, it's not like, super over the top and wow, he's on the wrong side of 80s it's just they play off coverage every single play, and I just don't know enough about it to know what goes into when you jam and when you don't, when you go off. But before you depart, after the FBP marathon segment, I do want to ask you this. With Kirk Cousins set to be unrestricted at the end of the year, Nordo asked me this earlier in the week, and the answer I gave him, I was mostly comfortable with, but then I thought about it a little bit on the drive home, and I'm like, I probably should have added this. So I'd like to get your thoughts on, is it possible for Kirk's future or lack thereof here, is it possible it weighs on him at all?
I think when you're in a situation like this, when you're 1-4 and you're part of a losing team, I think it does.
Yeah.
I think if we're 4-1, this thing's flipped and he's in the driver's seat.
Yeah,
I don't think it does at all because
it's not even a talker then.
Yeah, I mean it's not a talker. It's like, hey, I'm going to hit free agency. I'm going to have all these suitors, and now it's like, okay, again, he's talented. We love him. I want him to be here. I want him to kind of take this team to the next level and bring in JJ with a big contract, and away we go. But the reality is when you're 1-4. I do think it is. And again, Kirk has just been, steel curtain. He is focused. He's locked in. He's been as impressive of a leader as you could probably be with how he handles his business. Now, when there's a little crack and when everybody's struggling and maybe the future is not quite as clear how it's going to be for him in the market next year, I do think it probably weighs on him. And I think, does that change the outcome? I doubt it. I doubt it. But I can't see any other way for us to go very young, draft early quarterbacks next year.
It looks like it's heading that way. Now, we've got yesterday, I think it was Kevin Seifert asked Kirk about the trade rumors. I think he said, is there any scenario in which you would waive your no-trade clause?
Yeah, that was Wednesday, and that's what Nordo played off of, I think, yesterday.
Yes, thank you. I thought his answer was interesting. It wasn't no, which he could have just said no. But he said, and I think this is a very safe answer, is I'm focused on Chicago, which I think is true. He can't control that. It would take the team for all of that, for everything that has to come together for a trade, and it would be a lot. He has very little control over the first 2/3 of that process, where the Vikings actually find a suitor, get a deal together that they believe would be adequate for them, and then you have to go to Kirk, and you'd have to ask Kirk, okay, do you want to play for the Falcons? And you'll negotiate a deal with the Falcons, because Kirk's not taking a trade without a new deal, a new extended contract with his new team. And so there's a lot of things that would have to come into place, and Kirk can't control most of that. So I felt like Wednesday's answer was probably the right answer, which was I'm focused on Chicago.
Well, that's a Kirk answer. I mean, obviously, he's not going to try to bring attention to himself in a negative way or this team in a negative way. He's trying to stay focused on what he's got in front of him, and he can't control the majority of those 2/3 of the things you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be presented to him at a point where, like, hey, we have this on the table. They're ready to strike a deal. The agent's working all that stuff. And he, from what I've learned from Kirk while watching the quarterback or just being around him is what he says, he means, and he's doing. And I think, he's not going to tell you some big lie. He's not going to also bring a bunch of attention to himself. And I think when you look at it from his perspective, is if he's going to want to move on from this team, I think you got to look at Kwesi in this situation and be like, this decision, one way or the other, is going to impact his future as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And this whole decision, how this plays out, is like, listen, a couple years of draft, we're struggling at this point in this season.
Yeah.
Bad start. Okay, where do we go from here? The Hawkinson bit, whether that's good, bad, indifferent, we got a young tight end, long-term deal. That's great. This decision will impact the future of his job, Kirk's job, head coach's job. That decision is massive.
It's huge.
And again,
for sure,
I'm not saying we should do one thing or the other. We're not in those positions. We're not having those conversations. We don't know who's calling them to see what you can even get for this situation, because it would have to be a massive take, I think, in your favor to do this deal.
What the decision that Kwesi's going to have here will define his future as the general manager of the Vikings. Getting this decision right or wrong on whether you give up on Kirk Cousins and the remaining probably 3 or 4 good years he's got left in him, and you try to go get somebody else that you really believe you've identified that is going to be the quarterback of the future. If Kwesi gets that wrong, Kirk goes somewhere else, continues to play well, you whiff in the draft on the quarterback you take. It's probably the end for him. If he gets it right, these are the decisions that set you up for a decade as the general manager of a team, because you've got a good quarterback. You drafted him.
My man, great seeing you today. Appreciate it.
Good to see you too.
God bless you, and thank you very much for joining the Friday Football.
Let's go.
PA in Charch, Jeffrey Manis engineering by our side, and Nordo's producing at FM 100.3 KFAN, the flagship for 9 to noon radio. And when we return, Nordo will guide us through Vikes Bites as the Friday Football Feast from Buffalo Wild Wings Champlin is in the air, and we're happy to be here. We'll be back shortly. Thanks for listening.
We dance without a care. KFAN, The Fan.
Let's head back to the KFAN studios, just to the west of Erotic City, and unfurl some Vikes Bites. Hey, buddy. The producer, Eric Nordquist, ran second in initials to Justin Guard. It was a phenomenal effort. Just give the boy a round of applause for even advancing to the finals and nearly winning it. Man, that was really, really impressive to listen to.
It was a nail biter, and as my gal would say, once again, I came up short. Vikes Bites, brought to you by Northern Fire Grilling and Barbecue Supply. NorthernFireBBQ.com. They are west of me in Minnetonka, just north of 62 off Shady Oak. Two of my favorite people on the planet there, Aaron and John. Brad puts it all together. Amazing barbecue spot if you're looking to grill some elite meat.
Vikes Bites.
We'll start here. Charch.
Yes.
After the turnovers, what has been the most eye-opening thing for you with this team sitting at 1-4?
Well, I don't. You're not looking for a positive answer, but I'm going to give you a positive answer.
Okay.
The offensive line has been so much better. Offensive line currently ranks number 1 in run blocking in the NFL by Pro Football Focus. This is a pass blocking unit that also feels like it's gotten better. I think the evolution of the offensive line, despite the fact that Bradbury has played sparingly, very little, has been remarkable. And the development that we've gotten there from 2 years ago, when it was arguably the worst in the league, last year took a big step forward. And this year, it feels like we've got one of the 10 best offensive lines in the league. Hasn't resulted in the change in wins that we would have expected, as we've been agonizing for years over the state of the offensive line. But I think that's you asked what's really been a surprising standout element of the Vikings season?
Yeah.
Offensive line.
And Nordo, doesn't that typify the way the 2023 is going? The Minnesota Vikings are a pass-first team with the best run-blocking offensive line in the NFL.
Double doink.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Vikes Bites.
This is back to you, Charch. TJ Hawkinson. People are questioning the cash and the contract through 5 games, Charch. Just 8.5 yards of reception, some of the drops. Lack of explosion in general for what many saw from the moment he stepped off the plane in the Capitol to play Washington last year. It was like, this is going to be the second target behind JJ. And, well, he has been, but where's the explosion? Where's your head at, Charch, in terms of TJ at this stage?
Well, it has been a frustrating season. We know that he's a pivotal point in a pass-first offense that went through Justin Jefferson 1, but then also TJ Hawkinson with almost as many targets as Justin Jefferson. He was an incredibly important part to the scheme that Kevin O'Connell runs. The fact that they haven't been able to get the production, and especially just the magnitude of the plays. I think if he had these drops on just routine, like 2nd and 6 situations, we wouldn't be talking about it. But these have been some monumental spots where you needed him to make contested catches. This year, he has made 1 of 6 contested catches. On his career coming into this year, he was a 55% contested catch guy. This year, 1 of 6. It's whatever. It's, I don't know, 18% or something. So, yeah, it's the magnitude and the spots that he hasn't been able to secure the ball that's been, I think, really frustrating for him. And, I think when we've talked about Hawkinson in past weeks, Paul has said the money's not a factor in this, and it's not. It's just he's a good player, and we have high expectations for TJ Hawkinson. We need him to be his best in the biggest moments, and we haven't gotten that yet this year.
Vikes Bites.
Presented by Northern Fire Grilling and Barbecue Supply in Minnetonka. You guys touched on Jordan Addison quite a bit last segment, and it is true. He's been limited in both practices leading up to this game with the Bears. Important part of the offense. We need the guy. No JJ. Let's get the rookie involved. But Caleb Evans, defensively, he's been limited in both practices this week. How worried are we? Whether it's Jordan Addison and specifically defensively, we've seen Mekhi Blackmon in spots, but Caleb Evans and Byron Murphy have been the starting 2 and the starting preferred spots. How worried are we about either or both of them not making it to the game on Sunday?
Well, with the Caleb, I mean, he does start, but I think it would come back to truly what would you be losing? What would you be losing in what spots that potentially could hamper you most? And sadly, I can't answer that question because I have not seen anything descript from Caleb Evans all season. So therefore, if Mekhi Blackmon starts, goes to the outside, Byron Murphy Jr., and his status, and then Andrew Booth could get an opportunity. This weekend's game without Justin and the way the injury report has come up, today's injury report is key. If all the names we're talking about, hopefully they go full and they're able to join. But there's intrigue for me into this game because there's something new. And it's just through 5 games. Okay, we've seen Justin; he's tearing it up. We know about the drops. We know about the fumbles, and we just know so many abnormal things that we've seen through the first, let's say, 27-30% of the season. Into the second quarter, I don't know, man. If it's Booth playing out there, it's Booth playing out there. If it's Osborne targeted 15 times, that's great. If it's 15 jets to Brandon Powell, that's great too. Just don't let Velus Jones Jr. Seriously, Velus Jones Jr., second year from Tennessee, is just a little thing, but he has 2 touchdowns in his career, and both are against us. Both took place last year, one by air and one by land. So can we please get out of this game without something called, copyright Paul Charchian, something called Velus Jones Jr. scoring on us? Good Lord.
Yeah, that's that is. I think that's a very fair assessment, honestly. We should probably talk about Byron Murphy a little bit. He was brought in to be the veteran stabilizing force at the cornerback position when we had so many young kids that needed to take reps there. And to this point, it just hasn't worked out. He's given up 3 touchdowns in 5 games. Your better cornerbacks give up 3 on the year. He's already given up 3. The passer rating in his coverage is 141. Perfect is 158. We need stops from Byron Murphy, and to this point, really haven't gotten him. Don't feel necessarily comfortable with him in a one-on-one situation with most opposing receivers based on what we've seen so far. And he played better for Arizona than he's playing here. I think he's better than what we've gotten so far, and maybe it's just time to figure out what his skill set is in a brand new defense. But we need to get more from Byron Murphy than what we've gotten so far.
Vikes Bites!
My last thing for you, Charch. And I hate to be, this sounds negative, but I just lost a nail-biter in the initials game. I'm a bit depressed. So,
yeah,
the Vikings are 3-point favorites in Chicago this weekend. Should they be?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm sorry, Charch.
No, go ahead.
No, he asked for you.
I was
Honestly,
reading an article.
I have to say no, based on the way the Bears have played the last 2 games and where the Vikings are right now without Justin Jefferson. I feel like if I were wagering on this, I would take the 3 points, and I'd look to try to get hopefully a Viking victory, but within 3 points. The Bears are really clicking in a lot of different facets, and the fact that they're getting their secondary back, as Paul's alluded to a couple of times, absolutely pivotal. The guys that they were trolling out there the last 3 and 4 games were awful, but they're getting healthy now. Eddie Jackson is a terrific safety. Jalen Johnson can go play just man up on Addison and then go make the Vikings win with Brandon Powell. So, yeah, I just think in totality right now, based on just the mojo these teams have, the fact that Chicago's played pretty darn well really since week 2, I think Chicago. I think Chicago should probably be the favored team.
Not the favored team. Without Jefferson, I see what you're saying, but maybe a little closer to pick them. But the serendipity for the Bears secondary is that Gophers rookie Terrell Smith, I think he was taken in the 5th round. He's had some really good moments for them, more so in the run force game than in the passing game, because he just hasn't seen a lot come his way. But Terrell Smith, rookie Golden Gopher, he's showing out a little bit, as the kids say. And the kids also like fantasy football. And Paul Charchian with GuillotineLeagues.com. He's by my side at Buffalo Wild Wings Champlin. And when we return, the fantasy feast portion of the equation is unfurled at FM 100.3 KFAN.
Vikes Bites.
PA on the Fan.
The Feast Fantasy Fodder with Paul Charchian unfurls right now at Buffalo Wild Wings Champlin. Now, I want to discuss daily fantasy, specifically this Sunday, and I would like to begin with a hookup that sadly was a positive hookup for the team from Florida, but sadly against the Minnesota Vikings week 1, and here's what it sounded like. Baker Mayfield out of the shotgun, 2-by-2 formation, and Rachaad White by his side. Minnesota rushes 4. Baker dances around the pocket, throws to the end zone, caught, touchdown Buccaneers. Mike Evans with a 28-yard touchdown. He got behind our safeties, and it's 10-9 Minnesota. I've noticed through the site that Molesky endorses, Underdog Sports.
Yeah.
That, if you look at like when people are winning in daily fashion in baseball or basketball to a certain extent or hockey, they're doing a little bit that's called stacking. And specifically in baseball, where you'll get 5 players from one, so like 5 Phillies: Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Alex Bohm, Stott, and say Real Muto.
Yeah.
And then your pitcher is Atlanta Spencer Strider. So not that type of an elaborate stack in football. I think it's impossible to really get down to, like, for the Vikings, Johnny Munt as your 6th guy.
Right.
But in daily, would you stack Mayfield and Evans and maybe Godwin? So Mayfield, Evans, and Godwin versus Detroit, if you could get to them.
Well, Detroit's missing 2 players from their secondary that are pretty big losses. Emmanuel Mosley's out. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson out. They're both on IR now. So you've got some opportunities. Baker's played well, Paul. I'm not suggesting he's having an MVP season, but he's quietly having one of the best stretches of his entire career right now, and he's got those beefy receivers. Now, the reason you stack in some fantasy formats is because you're in a very big league and you need lightning to strike. You need something special to happen.
Yeah.
You need Mike Evans to have a big game, and he can't have a big game without Baker also having a big game. So you stack when you're in a league that's 100 people and you're trying to take down $4,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
When you're in a smaller league, you don't want to stack. You want to diversify so that if Evans doesn't have the big game, you don't go down because you got both Evans and Baker. So it's largely about the size of the league, because in big leagues you need something special to happen. But I think we've all been pleasantly surprised at how well Baker has played. Now, what the Bucs don't have is a running game of any kind. Rachaad White has really struggled to get it much traction. Their offensive line is better than the ridiculously banged up version they had last year, but it's still not great. And so you got to pick your spots, but this is probably one of those spots this week to start your Bucs.
What? Would that include Chris Godwin?
It would.
Okay.
Because Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, it was their primary slot guardian as that hybrid safety cornerback, and so Godwin's going to see backup coverage guy, and I'm not even sure who that is.
All right. So what do you think of Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley as some form of a stack?
Lawrence's play has been inconsistent to this point this year, and so has Ridley's. And, interestingly, Christian Kirk was the leading receiver last year, and he quietly had a really, really nice season. But didn't all this year they brought in Ridley, had a huge game 1. And then it's really been a lot of Kirk, back to Kirk a lot.
Right.
Really did better last week. But there have been times where the ball just doesn't come his way.
And they're hosting Indy.
Yes.
And Indy can give up some deep shots up in this thing.
Oh, for sure. Now, so Indy rolled into last season with Stephon Gilmore, who was still a good cornerback. And then the guy, Isaiah something, who ended up getting busted for gambling, and then he got suspended for the whole year. And that was their starting cornerbacks. Never fully replaced them. The cornerback they were starting, a different cornerback, he got knocked out for the year. So they're like way, way down on cornerbacks there. And that should be a good game. I've got Trevor Lawrence sitting inside. He's like quarterback 6 or 7 for me this week.
Isaiah Rodgers.
Thank you. Isaiah Rodgers.
Yep.
I like the opportunity here. The Colts have been a better run defense than pass defense. You can throw on them.
I'm sorry to giggle right there, but I just Googled that quickly to get the cat's name. And it's just like certain teams will push the envelope or do edgy things, and then if it doesn't work, they'll just like wash their hands of it.
Yeah.
But in order, I read Isaiah Rodgers, 25, was released by the Colts in late June after being suspended indefinitely by the league for gambling policy violations. The next story, Eagles signed suspended former Colts cornerback Isaiah Rodgers.
I love it.
Oh, wow. What a world.
It's very Howie Roseman right there.
Okay.
Buy low on a guy suspended for gambling.
What a world. So with stackability, or if you have them both on your weekly fantasy teams, Tua, Tyreek, and Mostert. So if you're like playing a daily thing and it's super deep, like you said, so you're looking for a stack.
Yeah.
Tua with Tyreek and Mostert. I know Mostert's coming off a bit of a down game, but he's been the bomb this year.
Well, yeah.
And then the coach, Mike McDaniels. He obviously they have familiarity from their days with the 49ers, but Mostert just fits this thing beautifully when he's healthy.
Right.
Tua and Tyreek, or Tua, Tyreek, and Mostert. What do you think?
Well, you want something to do with that whole Miami offense because it's going so well right now, and they've got the Panthers coming in, so it's game on. Now, for Mostert, Devon A. Chan is out, and he went on IR, so he's going to miss a month. The expectation is they're going to bring up Jeff Wilson off injured reserve, and if Wilson doesn't come back, then Mostert's getting all the carries, right? And now it's game on Mostert in a big way.
If Mostert, a former track star for the Purdue Boilermakers, okay? And these injuries, and everything, because he's so physical. He's physical and fast. Wilson is not in Mostert's class if Mostert's healthy.
The two of them were lead backs on together. They played together last year in Miami for a while, and it really was a 1A, 1B situation for those guys, and Wilson was actually the 1A for a lot of those games.
Yeah.
But they both have long track records of getting hurt, so they're kind of, in and out of lineups. Wilson would be the sneaky play if he comes back. He'll cost you way less in whatever format you got, and he's available in a lot of leagues, and he's going to walk into that Devon A. Chan role as the guy who's getting half of the carries. So I think Wilson's the sneaky play. Mostert is the safe play for a smash spot, and he's, I think I have him ranked running back 7 or something this week. Love him.
Okay, so Sam Laporta has come up hobbled on the injury report.
Yeah.
I got no idea what's going to happen with him this weekend, but it kind of popped up out of nowhere. But pretend it's not there, because eventually he'll be healthy. Has the Iowa rookie Sam Laporta become an absolute every week starter for every fantasy team? And I don't care if you, so you got Kelsey, so Kelsey's going to start over him all the time.
Yeah.
Andrews is a big timer, but he's super in and out.
He is. He had 3 drops last week, including 2 in the end zone that were just absolute catchable balls.
Goddard's season was dead until last game. He was an absolute buzzkill, so I'm putting him in that conversation. So really, outside of Travis Kelce, Sam Laporta is a start every single week, right?
There's Kelce. There's Hawkinson.
Yeah.
Nobody else has even been as consistent as Sam Laporta has, Paul, as a rookie.
I bet you Laporta has more fantasy points than TJ this year.
It's possible. It is possible. I wouldn't be surprised. Mm-hmm. He might be second in fantasy points.
It's Kelce, it's Laporta, and then it's Hawkinson or Andrews.
Andrews in that conversation. We thought Waller would be there. He's been a disaster.
Wow.
Goddard, he's topped 30 yards once or twice on the season.
Yeah.
But Sam Laporta, I'm glad you bring up Sam Laporta. He really, if Puka Nacua just cools off a little bit because Cooper Kupp's there, and he just, turns into a good, not amazing player, Sam Laporta is going to work his way into Rookie of the Year conversation with C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
What he's doing as a rookie is, we're hitting uncharted territory because tight ends rarely do this. Kyle Pitts had a 1,000-yard season 3 years ago with 0 touchdowns. What Laporta is doing right now is amazing, and he's distanced himself from Dalton Kincaid, who was taken ahead of him in the draft.
Yeah.
And he is a huge part of a very good offense.
And we will get to some other Feast fantasy fodder, perhaps later in the radio show with Paul Charchian from GuillotineLeagues.com. When we return, Alec Lewis, a scribe who covers the Minnesota Vikings for The Athletic. YA, young Alec, will join us at Buffalo Wild Wings Champlin, and we'll chop it up with some baseball and some Vikings and much more.